Hi Noteboard Gamers and welcome back to Noteboard Gaming. I'm your host, I'm Mark. Now in today's video I am going to be previewing a game which hits Gamefound on the 12th of March. The link will be in the description below. And it's from Chip Theory Games, but it's their first kind of foray into a more accessible game. You see, this game has not been designed by the guys at Chip Theory, it's been designed and illustrated by Manny Trembley, and you can see from the artwork when I show you just how kind of special that is. And it's going to say hit Gamefound on the 12th of March, and it's Chip Theory's first kind of foray into a more accessible type of game for people. So it's going to be on Gamefound at around about $55, and I think it's going to retail for an MSRP of $65, so quite a lot lower than a lot of Chip Theory games have been. So a few things to say about this. Of course, this is a prototype version, so none of the components are artwork or artwork are final. The solo mode is still being worked on and developed, so I'm working with the version of the solo mode that we have now, and I know that the guys over at Chip Theory are still developing that. And at the moment for solo, there is only one faction who I can use AI on. I do know in the full game, all of the factions will have an AI ability. So the game of Wroth is effectively kind of an area control type game where you and the AI are going to battle to try and claim the most areas on the map and score the most points on the map up to a predefined limit. And in the solo mode, that's going to be determined by the scenario card that you've got up to a predefined limit, and whoever passes that first absolutely wins. Now the solo is designed not only just to work with, the AI is designed not only just to work from a solo perspective, but also to work with other players as well. So you can have two people playing against an AI, or two people playing against two AIs, or three people playing against one AI. You can mix and match in whatever way you want. At the moment, as I say, I've only got one AI to play with, so therefore I'm just one faction against one AI. Now the game zips along at a fairly rapid pace as well, and essentially in the game what you're going to be doing is you're going to be deploying your troops, and you have different types of troops. You have your standard troops, which are represented by these little hexagonal kind of tokens, and then you have elite troops. Each faction has their own range of elite troops. On mine, and my faction is the Uglin, I have the Nameless, which is these dice here, and they're represented by dice, but you don't roll the dice. And I also have the Khan here. And each of these elite troops has their own kind of unique way of what they do when they go onto the map, and there's various things that happen. So all the factions are wildly asymmetrical. So what I'll do, without much further ado, is I'll take you down to the board, I'll show you what all the components are, I'll run you through a very quick round on it, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss exactly what I think of Wroth from Chip Theory Games. So here I have everything set up more or less for a solo game. I've just got some few things to do to finish setup, but I thought I'd keep them for you. So I'll go through what the various components are, and then we'll go through the rest of the setup here. So here we can see the faction mats, and I've chosen the Uglin, which is this faction mat here. And in the solo game, you're going to start with 20 of your troops. In the multiplayer game, you're going to start with 25. In the solo game, you're going to start with 20 of your troops. And you can see here, the Uglin's elite troops are the Khan here, and the Nameless here, and also I can spend a Korra, I'll talk about Korra in a second, to get a Parasite. Now each of these is slightly asymmetrical. So for example, when deploying a Khan, you may instead place them into any enemy controlled region, and you get an extra VP if the Khan is controlling a region. We'll talk about control and domination in a bit. And on the Nameless here, it says when attacking a region with a Nameless, deal damage equal to the HP value, there we go, of the Nameless in that region. So they start with 3. And Parasite, if I spend a Korra, I can choose a region I occupy and attack that region for 1 damage. The attack cannot be modified by the Nameless, so that can't, you can only attack them for 1. Now, one thing I will say down here is on these prototypes, the text is a little bit harder to read. They will be better when the final version comes out. You also get a faction card. The AI doesn't get one of these, and this is kind of a one-time ability you can use. So this here says that once per game, the Uglin can gather up to 10 hordes of troops and deploy them into any single region. And when you gather troops, what that means is these troops that have been destroyed and removed from the board, you can gather them up and you can put them on any region of the map. Quite powerful and certainly really kind of instrumental in trying to win in any way at all for the Uglan. So that's the Uglan there. Over here we have the Adlan. Now these mats are dual-sided. Let me show you one of the other mats here, okay? So this is for the, I think it's Coda, they're called there. This is the kind of human side here, it tells you what their elite troops do. And then if you flip them over to the AI side, you can see it's the AI side because they have these ABCs where the dice are going to go, basically. And that's what happens there. So this is on the human side, the Adlan is on the AI side. And the AI starts with all of their troops and their elites here as well. And they've also got a volley action as well. And their elites have actions, the special actions as well that happen when they go on the board. They don't start with a faction ability though, which thankfully not for that. Here we have the scenario card. And this tells you how to set up the scenario for the Adlan here. Now, there's going to be a number of these scenario cards. As I say, I've only got one with a prototype here. There would be text on the back there at the moment. It's just holder text, but you can see the wonderful artwork from Manny Trembley there. And then it tells you how to set them up. And you can see, well, I've set up the board. I'll talk about the board in a bit. I've actually seeded the board ready for the game. And it tells me here that the Adlan deployment base can only be in regions 1 to 4. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. That tells me the region numbers there. The mission success, I have to gain 30 victory points or deny control of all regions to the Adlan. Then we have the chaos die, and you've got this die here, okay? Because what's going to happen each round is they're going to roll this die the number of times, whatever round they're on. So on the first round, they're only going to roll it once. Obviously, when you get towards the back end of the game, the 5th and 6th round, that's when they're rolling it a lot. And depending on what it lands on, it's what their action is going to be. So if it's a 1 to 3, in region order 1 to 8 regions with 2 or more AI troops, move a troop towards region 8. So there we go. We're going to try and move to kind of get to the top of the hill there. 4 to 6 is to activate volley. That's a special ability that they have. And 7 to 8 is to deploy the next available elite, and that's these here. But they will also deploy elite as well. And it does give you a difficulty indicator down here as well. It says factions with lower health elite troops will find this challenging. Factions with movement abilities should excel at this mission. So we'll come down to the map in a second, but the map is split up into regions, and the regions are all dictated on this card here. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 as you go through the map, and the 8 is the middle region there. So that just helps you identify, rather than putting the numbers on the map, helps you identify. So I've talked about that. Now we have the dice themselves, okay? So these are your action dice and your what is it called? Your all-seeing eye dice. So let's talk about these first, all right? So in the solo game, what you're going to do is you're going to roll 4 of these dice. You're going to choose 3 of them to dictate your actions for the next game, for the next round, and the AI is going to choose 1 of them. I'll explain how that works. But each of you also gets these all-seeing eye dice as well. And you can whatever that rolls on, you can then choose when to use it. But the AI will try and use its all-seeing eye as soon as possible. And that is really kind of, these are the only dice rolls in the game. You're rolling your dice to determine, for the AI to determine where their deployment zone is. You're rolling the chaos die, and you're rolling these dice to take your action. It's not a game that is necessarily heavily dependent on dice rolls, although dice rolls in terms of your actions absolutely dictate what you can do. You've also got these things here called Cora, okay, or Cora should I say, not Cora, Cora. And this is kind of the currency in the game. When you accumulate them, you can spend them to deploy elites or do your special ability, and the AI will spend them to deploy their elites. Over on the left-hand side of the board, we have the score tracker over here, and we both start on 0, and then we're going to move up. In a standard game, you're going to go to 40. On this scenario, it's the first one to 30. And up at the top here, you have some actions that you can take by sacrificing 2 of your die, 2 of your action dice. So if you've got 2 action dice on actions that you don't want to take, you can sacrifice 2 of them and choose any of the available actions. When you choose it, you then move that to cover the action you've taken, obviously, and it can't be taken again until another one's taken. That is quite a handy tactic there as well. So let's move out onto the board, and I'll show you the board itself. So here's the board itself, and the board is split up into a number of regions. First of all, around the edges of the board, you've got these starting points, and these are called the shores. And for you, in the solo game, you're going to choose one of those shores. Probably choose the one closest here. That's nice and easy. And from there, you can move into any first level area, and that's these areas here or these 4 areas here. Okay, then subsequent, what you can do is start moving up and try and attack the others, but you can move adjacent where they share a border or there's a bridge moving from it. So from your shores, as I say, these 4 areas, and then these middle area are the first ones you can go to, and subsequent you can move up from there. And I'd say the board is split into various regions. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 there, and that is where you'll see on those is certainly from where the troops are going to go or where the Irish troops are going to go. That is important, but also each of these regions has got a scoring criteria on them as well, and you will gain these victory points not in the first round but at the end of the second round, depending on who controls this area or who even dominates those areas as well. Now there are 4 special ones here. This map has been seeded according to the AI scenario card here. Okay, there are 4 special ones here because if you're in control of those, you get to reap the spoils of those here. Okay, so here we have on these, you have a if you're controlling this, you get a maneuver. If you're controlling this, you get a Cora. This is actually going to change to be an extend action, so that will have 2 split arrows on there as well, and that would be the extend action. Then this one, I'm missing 1 token that has a battle icon, but if you're controlling that, you get to do a free battle there. So controlling those early on is kind of important, and certainly the AI, or certainly this AI, is going to try and control those. Now, as I say, this isn't the final. I know there's going to be some indicators on there about the various levels, etc., and how whether it's level 1, 2 or 3. So you know, this isn't the final version, but it gives you an indication of this wonderful, bright, relatively small footprint board. So I think that's kind of more or less everything in terms of kind of the board and what you do, and how you set the game up. I'll just talk about the various rounds and the flow of the game. So I've got everything set up now, more or less, for the first solo game. I'm kind of part way through the setup. I've done the various region tokens, etc., and I've got the prescribed regions tokens on the regions it says on there. I put my 4 troops here because there is a chart. Bear in mind, these are the printed rules and they're still in development, and it says here for solo, for 1 player, I start with 20 troops, which I have. I deploy 4 in setup, which have gone there, and I deploy 1 troop per round. So each round I get to put 1 troop into there. Now, for the AI player, depending on where they go, they don't go from the shores, they instantly deploy into a particular area. So we're going to roll the chaos die and see where they go to, and we're going to place 4 of their troops into that area. So they're going into area 4, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going down here, so we'll put those 4 of their troops just down here, and that's where they're going. Okay, so that's their kind of setup done now. So then we're going to move on to a game round, and there are a number of phases in each game round. Now in the solo mode, it's slightly different. The first phase, or phase 0, is a phase only used in the solo mode, and you're going to roll the chaos die to determine which region we'll use as their deployment zone. Now, on this scenario card, it does say here that the deployment zone can be regions 1 to 4. Okay, so instead of rolling the chaos die, I'll roll this die and we'll see what it comes up with. That's a 6, that's no good. That's a 5, that's no good. Here we go, it's a 3. So they're going into area 3. I'll move that back onto 1. So that's 1, 2, 3. Where that is going to be their deployment zone. So when they start deploying troops, I'm just going to put that token there, that reminds me that they deploy troops into that particular area. Then what we're going to do is we are going to roll this chaos die the number of times equal to the round. So it's the first round, we'll see what happens. It's a 2. What does it say on a 2? If we bring this up here, it says, in region order 1 to 8, regions with 2 or more AI, move a troop towards region, prioritise elites. Well, they only got this in here, so they're going to move that towards there. So they've already started their encroachment on there. I do apologise if you can't see the tokens correctly, because their tokens are red, my tokens are green. They start before here, they move 1 onto there. So that is the maintenance round done. The next round is, the next phase is called spoils. It doesn't happen in the first round of the game because this is where we would kind of claim what's on these tokens. But of course, it's a bit unfair to do that in the first round of the game. Then we lay the ground rules, okay? And laying the ground rules is where we start seeding the board, seeding the board, deploying troops and getting some Cora. So we know that for me, I get to deploy 1 troop in this phase. So that means I've now got 5 troops just here, which is fantastic, okay? And the AI deploys a number of troops equals to the number of human players into their deployment zone. Now we know that's over there, so they're going to put a player over there already. Look at this. They have, they have dominance in 2 particular areas. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a Korra each as well. So we start off with a Korra each. So we both got a Korra. And then we're going to roll our all-seeing dice. And these grey dice. So these kind of are your bonus dice. So we'll roll mine first and see what happens. Okay, I get a Korra. We'll roll theirs. Oops. They get 2 times. That means they get to do their first action 2 times. Okay, so that is reinforce. We've done that. Discern. We've rolled the all-seeing dice, and allocate. We've taken a Korra, and that is the second phase done. That is called laying groundwork. Okay, now we're going to move into phase 3, which is the draft. So phase 3, the draft, is where these come into operation, all right? So let's say in the solo game, you're going to use 4 dice. You're going to choose 3 die, and they're going to 3 dice, and they're going to use 1 die basically. And you get to discern what you want. So let's roll these. Oh, great. Right, we got 3 battles and a Korra. Okay, so this isn't great. I'll tell you what. Let's take 2 and a Korra. For me, and that means their first go I know is going to be a battle, and they're going to do it 2 times, which isn't great, but it's going to show you exactly what happens in phase 3. So that's the draft done. That's fine. That's nice and easy. We're already 3 phases through, basically. 3 phases through. We're now going to move into 4th phase, which is the action phase. And this is kind of the meat and potatoes of the game. This is where we really start to kind of move things forward. Okay, so let's have a look at, in each action phase, you're going to take it in turns, me and then the AI, me and then the AI, and we're going to use our dice basically. So let me start off. Now, first of all, I've got this Korra and this Korra die here. So I'm going to spend my all-seeing eye die, and I'm going to spend this action die and take 2 more Korra. What that actually allows me to do is it allows me to then hire at least one of these either Khans or nameless elites, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to spend 2 Korra, which is there, okay? And that means I can hire one of my 2 elites. Now, I can do the Khan or the Nameless. The Nameless are quite good because they deliver, if I've got a battle going, then they will deliver damage equal to that. So that will actually help me control. But unfortunately, when I deploy a Nameless, they have to go into my deployment zone, and I would then have to find a way to actually move them out, which I can't really do at the moment. There's nobody around. Well, there's only that there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a Khan, because the Khan allow me to deploy into an enemy-controlled region. So if I look around the board here, okay, we got this is an enemy-controlled region, this is an enemy-controlled region, and this is an enemy-controlled region. Now, this would be good because, you know, I could get 2 points, but not on the first round. You don't score them on the first round. So I think I'm actually going to place that Khan into there, which means we now have a contested region over there, and that's absolutely fine. So that was my first go there. I spent my all-seeing die and my Korra action die. I got 2 Korra, and I got to do that as well. Now, I've got 1 Korra left, and this could really help me out here, because what I could actually do is I could spend that Korra, and I could use my Parasite ability, which is choose a region you occupy, which is this one here, and deliver 1 damage, and that's exactly what I'm going to do, and I'm going to knock that into a cocked hat for them. So I've already started. I've got rid of 1 of their troops already. That's really good. I still have 2 dice left. They've got this die here, but they've also got this 2 times ability here. So let's see what happens on the AIs. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to spend their Korra if they can. They have 1 Korra here, so they're going to spend that Korra, and they're going to hire one of these elegant troops here. This goes into their deployment zone, and on the elegant troops it says when they are placed on the board, you also place an enemy troop with them, a basic troop with them. So they're strengthening this area right now. That's the very first thing they do. Then we're going to move on to these action dice. And this has absolutely worked out in my favour. Because they've got this this attack here. So yeah, the attack here. And for the AI attack, what they would do is they would attack a region they control, or a region adjacent to it with my troops in it, going based on number of threat, and the threat is based on how many troops you got in there, for 1 damage, and then they would repeat that. Unfortunately, I'm not in any of these areas here, so by me not moving out into there, I've actually done it quite well by going there. So that is actually wasted, okay? So they don't get a go this go. But because they couldn't do that, had they been able to attack, they would have done it twice. But because they couldn't do that, that's absolutely fine. So we're going to roll that dice again for them on their next turn. Right, now we're going to move back over to me. So I've got a choice here. I can attack, which is no good for me whatsoever, or I could sacrifice dice and take some bonus action. And to be honest with you, that's exactly what I'm going to do, because there's no point in me attacking. I'm not adjacent to anything. I've got nothing on the board other than this here, controlling and dominating that area. So the bonus actions I could do, I could sacrifice 1 die and deploy, I think it's 1 troop into a particular area, or I could sacrifice both of them and take any one of these actions. And across the top, now some of these icons are a little bit wrong. We've got maneuver, we've got battle, we've got get Korra, or we've got extend, basically. Yeah, I could either take maneuver, which would allow me to deploy 2 troops into my deployment zone here, or move 2 troops to an adjacent region. So I could move 2 troops into there, which I'm risking I could control that region if there's no battle there. That's okay. Or I could extend, which would allow me to deploy 2 troops to a region I occupy. So I could put 2 troops over there. I'm actually going to take the maneuver. So we take that and we put that there. Sacrifice those 2 die. This will have a real bonus for me because it's shortening their turn as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to instead move 2 troops to an adjacent region, okay? So I'm going to take 2 of my troops and move it into this region here. So they were controlling that region. They're suddenly not controlling it because I'm there now. Now we go back over to here. Now what we're not hoping for here is a battle on this roll. Because if we've got a battle on this roll, then unfortunately we've got a bit of a problem. So let's have a look at this. Oh, God, right. Okay, so that hasn't worked in my favour then, because they're going to do this twice. And what it says here is the AI attacks a region they occupy or adjacent for 1 damage, and they're going to do that twice, basically. So what they're going to do is they're going to take both of those, and they are going to knock them into a cocked hat for me. What I thought was a great move by sacrificing my die is no longer a great move, and unfortunately they have now destroyed me, and they did that twice by using both of those, and that is all the dice done. So as you can see, you can use all the dice individually on your turns, or you can sacrifice them to get additional moves as well. So that is more or less all the phases done. There is another phase now, which is victory points, and we're not quite there because that doesn't happen in the first round, okay? So what we'll do is we'll play 1 more round. I'll show you another round all the way through to victory points, and then we'll illustrate exactly how they work, because in the next round we're going to be doing spoils and we're going to be doing victory points. So we go back to the beginning, and it's the first phase, and it's maintenance, and it's where we're going to roll the chaos die to determine in which region the faction will actually deploy their troops in, so what their new deployment zone is going to be. So we'll roll this. We know it's going to be on round 2. Oops, there we go. That's there. That's the number 2. So that's 1, 2. We know that that is now their deployment zone. You can see how that works, kind of moving them around the board a little bit. I've put that on 2 because now we need to roll this chaos die twice to see exactly what they're going to do. All right. So the first one is, it's a 5. I don't like 5s. Activate volley. Okay, so volley is an action that's on their player mat just here. And it says, attack a region with the most threat for 2 damage. Also attack each region adjacent to that one for 1 damage. Now, this is the region that's got most threat. So threat would be one of these here, basically. So each of these individual troops is 1 threat, and then elite is 3 threat. I've only got these here. So they're going to attack it for 2 damage. So that's going to knock that down to 2 and 1. Yeesh, okay? That's not good. I need that area for my spoils. Let's roll this die again. Let's hope it's not a 4 or a 6. It's a 2, and I'm okay with a 2, okay? Because what 2 says, in region orders 1 to 8, with regions of 2 or more AI, move a troop towards region 8 and prioritize elite. So we're doing this in region order, okay? So we start off here, we know we've got this here. That elite is going to move out to there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Bear in mind this is a region order, so this is going to activate now because this is the next region. that's going to move there to the central one, to number 8. So suddenly they spread out. They're moving to this central region up here, which is, you know, kind of king of the hill type thing. So that you can see how this gets progressively more difficult as you go on. You're going to be rolling that chaos die a number of times depending on that round. Okay, then we're going to move on to spoils. Sorry, I did notice that I'd put this up there rather than their counter up there. So now we're going to move to spoils. Okay, so we're going to move around in order. This is Korra, this is extend, this is battle. There is the figure missing off that, and that is maneuver just there. So we move around and we got battle here. What this allows me to do, because I've got that is my spoil for winning that particular area, because it would have a battle token on there, would allow me to deliver damage in an area I control or an area adjacent to it. There's nothing there. Totally pointless. If they'd moved out this way, maybe, but totally pointless. There's nothing there for me to do. So then we move around here and we got maneuver. And what it does, it deploys one regular troop to its deployment base and then disperses that region. Well, there's nothing to disperse because you always leave one behind. So that's its deployment base up there. That's the spoils area. That's the spoils done. Early game, if you let the AI run away with it, it can really start to cause you problems. So getting control of some of these outside areas with these spoils tokens on them is really, really important. Right, now we're going to move back to laying the groundwork, okay? So we're going to reinforce. We know that I get to put one troop into my deployment zone. I get to get a Korra. There we go. And I get to roll my all-seeing die. Okay, that's quite a good one. We like that. Okay, the all-seeing die for there is I can attack any region for 1, so I can do that at any point. For them, they're going to get a Korra. They're going to roll their all-seeing die. That's 2 times again. And they're going to deploy. They're going to deploy a troop into their deployment zone. So you can see they're constantly kind of building up as you go through the game. They're constantly trying to extend and expand their area. Right, so now we're going to roll these 4 dice again, okay? So we'll roll these. So we're now into the draft phase. Okay, so we've got 2 Exodus, 1 maneuver, and 1 extend. What do I want? Let's see. Think I am going to take these 3, which is 2 Exodus, I think it's called, and that, and they can have that. So suddenly we know kind of what's happening now. I've got these moves I can take here. Okay, so that's that, and now we move on to actions. As I say, they don't take first place. So I could choose a maneuver, which is to deploy 2 troops to my zone, or instead move 1 troop elsewhere to an adjacent region. But what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to use that, okay, and I'm going to put 2 more troops in my deployment zone because I've got these 2 kind of Exodus ones here. Do I want to spend this? And this says choose a region you occupy, attack that region for 1 damage. No, I'm not occupying anything yet. I'm going to keep that just as it is just now. So I've got 1 Korra, maybe save that to the next round. Let's move over to them now. So first of all, they've got a Korra. They're going to spend that Korra, okay? So they can get 2 Korra. It's quite easy for them to get 2 Korra if the dice come out in that way. And we know that 1 Korra is an elegant. It's going to move into there. And it always goes on to, you always deploy them with the highest number that's on there. So that's got number 3 on it. Okay, we're going to put that up there, and we know that deploys with another troop. They're suddenly starting to fill the board now, as you can see. All right, so then they're going to extend, and they're going to do it 2 times. And for extend for them, it deploys 2 troops to an AI-occupied region, and then you repeat this effect. So it says threat. There's no threat in any of their regions at the moment. I'm not on their regions. So then we would do it in number order. So we'll do it up there. So they're going to put 4 troops up there. 1, 2, 3, 4. The reason that is 2 for that, and then 2 for that, and that's their go done there. Right, now we're back to me, and suddenly I can start moving out onto the board. I can start thinking about, do I want to control some of these areas? So I'm going to take this Exodus here, and I'm going to move 3 of mine over to here, I think, yeah? So I know I've got this area right now, which is going to give me a Korra, which will start building up those Korras for me. So that's my first one done there, okay? And then I can attack any region for 1 damage using this. Do I want to do this? In fact, we'll do that. Yeah, we will do that. We're going to attack that region. I'm going to use that and get rid of that there, okay? So that's got rid of that for them. Back over to them, they're going to roll this dice again now, okay? See what they do. All right, so they've got a maneuver. A maneuver for them says it plays one deploy. It deploys one troop to their deployment zone, and then they will also disperse this region, okay? So we'll deploy another troop up there. Look at that. They've got everything. Oh, wow. Okay. Now they're going to disperse, and generally what you do for dispersing, you'd have a look at the adjacent areas and you'd start moving troops out into there. But they're only dispersing this region, so they're going to move everything. They've only got one adjacent area, I think. Yeah, from there to there, that's right, yeah. One adjacent area. So all of these, apart from one, is going to move into here. And you would ordinarily prioritise elites for doing that first if there's numerous areas they could go to. But you can see it helps them spread out onto the map while leaving some kind of presence behind as well. So suddenly I know this area here is really good. They're dominating that area. I'm dominating 2 areas. They're dominating 3 areas. Okay. Now we're back to me. I get to do this now. Okay. So I think I want to do my Exodus again. I want to get my guys out onto the board. And where do I want to put them? I could go up there and stop them dominating up there, but I could move here and hopefully gain for 2 points. I'm going to leave those there, so I'm going to move all of those onto there. There we go. That's my go done. We go back to them. And they've rolled a Cora, which is fine, because I think that means they get 2 Cora and spend it if possible, which they're going to do. So they gain 2. They're going to spend 2. They are going to get another elegant. I think I've done that wrong. Their 1 Cora should have got them a Winden out, not one of those, sorry. There we go. Just do that back. Okay. So they're going to do an elegant, which is 2, which is going to go out with that, and that's going to go onto there, and we know that goes up there. That's what that should have done. Okay. So suddenly they're out and about now, and that one says when deploying a Winden into the region, deploy them into the region where the Alden have the most troops, which is going to be there anyway, so that's fine. That's worked out just fine. So that's the end of that round now. I have no more dice left. That's that done, okay? So now we're going to move on to phase 5, which is now going to be victory points. So I've just zoomed into the map now to show you exactly kind of where we are, basically. So let's have a look at this, and we'll do this in region order. We will go round the board, okay? And this way we tot up the victory points. Now there's 2 things to think about here. You have control, and that's where you have more of your units in an area than them. So if they've got that there, I would be controlling that area. They don't have that there. So I'm dominating all the areas I'm in, and they're also dominating all the areas they're in. And you've got to remember to check on the maps if they get any other points, okay? So you're going to take the value of what's on that token. Now that token is a 1, but because I'm dominating that area, that gives me 2 points. So suddenly I've got 2 points on the board. We'll go around to area 2. All right, so they're only their troops in there. They're dominating that area, so we know that's a minimum of 1 + 1 for domination. But also, if we look on here, it says 1 VP if an elegant, and that, is on a controlling. So they've got 3 points for that particular area. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay, we come around here. I'm dominating here, so that's 1, 2. But I've also got my Khan, which is another victory point if I'm dominating, so that's 3. So that takes that up to 5. I'm in the lead. We come round here. They're dominating that area, so that's 2 for them. So suddenly we're on even Stevens now. We're on 5. Then we're going to move in here. We've got 2 victory points there, so that's 2 for me on that one. Plus I'm dominating, that's another 3. 1, 2, 3. We go around here. 1 victory point, 2 for dominating, and then if we have a look on here, yeah, another plus VP, so they get 3 there basically. So we're still even Stevens, we're down on 8 at the moment, okay? Come to this inside area. 3 points, plus domination 4, plus another point for having that there, that's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see that they're starting to get away with me, and that's all of the areas done. That's victory points. Then you would go back to the beginning, and you would start again with the first part of the solo round, which is the maintenance phase. So that's a quick couple of games, quick couple of rounds for you on how it plays. I think I show most of the major mechanisms there in terms of how it plays. You can see it's fast and it's snappy. Now the only thing I didn't show you or didn't do was my faction card, which would have allowed me to gather, and that is get 10 of my defeated troops back out and put them on any region on the board. And that can be game shifting for this particular faction. Of course, each faction has their own cards. But that is Wroth solo in a nutshell. As I say, the rules are still in development, but I hope that gives you a good taste of what you're going to do. The aim of this scenario is going to be the first person up to 30 points. You could play up to 40 if you wanted to, but chances are they're going to run out of troops and yada, yada, yada. But you play up to 30 points. Whoever crosses that 30-point mark, not just first, if you both cross it together, whoever comes down furthest with the most points wins that particular scenario. I say, only one scenario came with it. I know they're going to do loads and loads and loads of scenarios, but that gives you a really good overview on how you play Wroth solo. And there we go. That's kind of a brief overview and a couple of rounds of Wroth from Chip Theory Games. There we go, with the artwork and designed by Manny Trembley. It hits Gamefound on the 12th of March. The link will be in the description below. Look, you saw the solo game. Obviously, the multiplayer games plays ever slightly different in terms of what you do and what the setup is in the rounds, etc. But from a solo perspective, what you've got here is a game that is fast to set up, probably about 5 minutes to set up, depending on the scenario you choose. It's relatively quick to play as well, probably about 45 minutes for a solo game. And you saw that from how fast those rounds were, because of course your rounds are dictated by what you roll on your dice, on the action dice, and then what dice you draft, and then what dice the AI gets as well. And that's a really interesting concept. So, you know, I know a lot of people don't like dice play. It's not a case of kind of rolling numbers and, rolling a 6, etc. for your main actions. You've got these actions that you get to choose and you get to draft, and then you get to sacrifice one of those dice as well. So it's not a totally dice-dependent game, but it does have an element of obvious dice play in there. Obviously, the elite troops, their dice are purely kind of markers, if you like. So you don't roll those at all. They purely track their HP. So, you know, if you don't like dice, by any element of dice play, then maybe the game's not going to be for you. But if you're looking for a game where you get to strategize for the entire game, but also react tactically to what's happening as well, where area control is not necessarily a game that is kind of covered too much in solo. Yes, you will have some greats out there, games like Wroth, which has got a lot of asymmetry in there, but takes a steep learning curve in Wroth as well. But you're looking for something that's fast, frenetic, kind of fun to play, that offers you those mitigation strategies, then absolutely Wroth is going to do that for you. Look, the artwork I think is absolutely glorious from my perspective. It will be divisive for some people, but when you look at some of these kind of faction mats on here, what's happening on these, you've got some really, Manny's artwork just really pops on these mats, and I'm really looking forward to seeing kind of what happens with the other AIs. Bear in mind, this is a prototype. There's only one AI faction so far. There's all of the factions will have an AI side moving forward. So all of the factions will be able to be played. You will be able to play against them. But you know, from what I can see so far, the artwork is just absolutely beautiful. It works for me. It will be divisive in the way that a game like Dungeon Degenerates is divisive, but I love the neon, the way it smacks you in the face. And that kind of reminds me of the game. As the game comes along, it plays fast, kind of smacks you in the face. You've got some difficult choices to make against an ever-progressing enemy, and that race to get those points is really kind of, you know, it starts to ramp up towards the second half of the game, if you like. So, a lot to like here in Wroth. Really interesting to see how the game develops before it's eventually released. But from what I've seen so far, the framework is here for a really interesting and fun experience. Now, I'm taking the game to Aircon, which is a convention here in the UK, a bit later this week, so I'm going to get to play it with other people a little bit later this week, and I'm really looking forward to kind of playing a multiplayer game. But from a solo perspective, in terms of how easy it is to run the AI, what they do, how they react, how they grow on the board, this bloody chaos die, which, you know, early part of the game, rolling it once or twice because you're on round one or two, not the end of the world, although it can have some consequences. You saw volley come out. But when you get towards the back end of the game, you're in round 4, 5 or 6, and you're rolling this thing kind of 4, 5 or 6 times, your plans can be decimated. And that's where having a faction ability, you know, and they're different for each faction, but this one that we got for the Uglin which said I could gather 10 troops. That becomes really important, knowing when to hold back and when to play that. Those are the decisions that you want to make. Although you want a game to push you to make, is knowing when to play, and you get that sense of achievement when you've done it right, and also that kind of learning curve a little bit when you've done it wrong. So yeah, if the idea of a kind of area control skirmish type game really appeals to you, you like the look of the artwork, you like the look of how the solo AI works, then go and check out Wroth on Gamefound, on Gamefound from the 12th of March, link in the description below, from Chip Theory Games, with the art and the game designed by Manny Trembley. There we go. So thank you very much for watching me through this journey of Wroth from Chip Theory Games. Really looking forward to seeing what the final version is like as and when it's released, but from what I've seen so far, there's real potential for this to be an absolutely wonderful, wonderful game. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, check out our other videos, and one final thought: if you can't find anyone else to play with, then there's nothing wrong with playing with yourselves. Until next time, bye-bye.